Here's an interesting news item I was reading. A woman bought a lot in a subdivision in Hawaii a few years ago, and it's just been sitting vacant. And I guess a builder put a house on the land. And of course, she's upset. It's her land, not her house. What happens then? Well, that's pretty interesting from an off grid point of view. I think something like that could happen pretty easily off grid. All this raw, vacant land isn't really marked all that clearly, so mistakes could easily happen. My name's Joe. I have 5 acres of raw land here in the high deserts of Arizona, and I'm building an off grid homestead. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you like this content. When I bought my land, it was clearly marked. I had 4 marker posts permanently concreted into the corner of my land, so I don't have to worry too much. But when I was shopping for land, I noticed a lot of them were very hard to identify where the boundaries were. In this news article, they got the completely wrong plot of land. That's not that common. What usually happens is you're off a few feet on the boundaries. Somebody builds a fence a few feet over or under on the property line, and you technically don't own a 3-foot strip of land in your yard. Something like that happens. Now, news outlets like to make shocking headlines to get people to read their story. When you hear the whole story, it's not as shocking. People don't read as much. So these news reports tend to leave out a lot of information. So I dug a little deeper, and it turns out there are 3 people. There's the woman who owned the land, there's the developer, and there's the builder who built the actual house. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else. The developer is suing the builder, of course, and the other way around, because the builder just builds the house according to the developer's plans. The developer should have gotten a survey and did. The developer is suing the builder, of course, because it doesn't want to pay for that house. But the developer is also suing the woman, which is pretty outrageous, and that's what gets the headlines, riles up the blood. But I read a little more carefully. They offered her an adjacent lot, a choice of lots to swap out. You know, they're all pretty much the same. It's a subdivision, which kind of makes sense. That would solve a lot of problems. She now has a house, her property taxes changed. She has to deal with a house. She had a vacant land, which is pretty easy. Now she has a house. Supposedly some squatters moved in. It seems like she would just want to be rid of the problem. The developer and the builder don't want to tear down this house. They don't want to give away a free house, so it makes sense just to give another lot. She refused. I guess I understand that on principle. That's a great way to steal a person's land. You build a house on someone's land and then make them switch with you to a lot that's not as good. Maybe it doesn't have a little stream in it, or maybe it doesn't have road access or something. That could very easily happen off grid. I like your acreage better than mine. I'm going to build a house on yours and take it from you. In this case, I think she's just being stubborn and probably wants a little money, a little incentive, because they're really all identical. It's a very small subdivision, just little square lots on a street.
And they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same.
So the developer claims she's trying to squeeze more money out of them. She is claiming the developer is trying to squeeze her. They probably won't win a lawsuit, but she'll have to pay for lawyers and court costs and all of that. And she probably can't afford that, so they're trying to squeeze her. so she's countersuing. It's a big old hairy mess. But honestly, I think most people would go along with the switch, especially if the land was of equal value. I love my little piece of land here, and I wouldn't be too happy to move, but the next one over is pretty near identical. So if I had to move over 300 feet in that direction, I think I'd be okay. Sometimes it's best just to be practical and be willing to compromise a little to avoid unnecessary fights and problems. Well, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.